Tiger Woods issued a public apology, admitting regret for behavior he called irresponsible and selfish, and soon after announced he was stepping away from professional golf with no clear return date, as voices around him questioned how someone known for total control could lose it so suddenly. On November 25, 2009, while families across the United States gathered for Thanksgiving during a difficult economic time, Tiger's life took a dramatic turn in South Florida when a major tabloid released a report claiming he had been involved in a secret relationship with Rachel Uchittle, a Las Vegas and New York hostess who had previously been in the public eye for unrelated reasons. The report included images and details that quickly spread across dinner tables, talk shows, and news broadcasts, though at first the full impact had not yet sunk in. Inside Tiger's home, however, pressure was building as his wife, Ellie Nordegren, began demanding answers about the growing rumors. As the situation escalated, Tiger reportedly made frantic calls trying to limit the damage, but events quickly spun beyond his control. Soon after, photos surfaced of his damaged SUV outside his Florida home, following an incident where he attempted to leave during a heated moment and lost control of the vehicle. What began as a quiet holiday evening turned into a public unraveling that shocked the sports world, marking the start of one of the most intense and widely discussed crises in modern golf history. Tiger Woods publicly apologized for his irresponsible and selfish actions, admitting he crossed boundaries and wrongly believed he could avoid consequences, a moment that marked the beginning of a dramatic fall from grace. On November 25, 2009, while families across the United States gathered to celebrate Thanksgiving, news broke that would change Tiger's life forever when a tabloid reported he had been involved in a secret relationship, setting off a chain reaction that quickly spiraled out of control. Tension grew inside his Florida home as questions mounted, and soon after, shocking images surfaced of his damaged vehicle following a late-night crash near his house, where police found him injured and disoriented. Reports described a chaotic scene, with shattered glass, flashing lights, and a sports icon suddenly at the center of worldwide attention. Whether every detail was accurate no longer mattered, because the story exploded into one of the biggest celebrity scandals of the decade. Media outlets dissected every rumor. More individuals came forward with claims. Sponsors began distancing themselves. And golf, a sport known for calm and restraint, was thrust into non-stop global headlines. Tiger released statements acknowledging mistakes and apologizing publicly. But the storm only grew louder. In early December, a family medical emergency added further tension, and days later Tiger announced he would step away from professional golf indefinitely. The athlete, once seen as flawless, disciplined, and nearly untouchable, was now facing intense public scrutiny, as the world watched a man who seemed to have complete control on and off the course lose command of his personal life in real time. Tiger Woods publicly apologized for his irresponsible and selfish actions, admitting he crossed boundaries he never should have and announcing an indefinite break from professional golf. A stunning moment that marked the collapse of one of the most controlled public images in sports. On November 25, 2009, while families across the United States were gathered for Thanksgiving, Tiger's world unraveled when a major tabloid reported an alleged relationship involving him, igniting rumors that spread rapidly through homes, talk shows, and news outlets. Tension inside his Florida home escalated, leading to frantic attempts to manage the situation. But events quickly spun beyond control. Soon after, images surfaced of his damaged SUV following a late-night crash near his home, with reports describing police arriving to find the golf superstar injured and disoriented. Whether every detail was accurate no longer mattered. The story had already exploded into a full-scale media frenzy. Sponsors began pulling away. Names and accusations surfaced daily. And golf, a sport known for quiet tradition, was suddenly at the center of global chaos. Tiger released statements admitting mistakes while disputing some claims, but the headlines kept coming. As the pressure mounted, a family medical emergency added to the turmoil, and days later Tiger stepped away from the game entirely. For a nation already slowing down for the holidays, the scandal became unavoidable, dominating television screens and newspapers everywhere. The fall felt shocking because Tiger had always represented discipline, control, and near perfection, both on and off the course. From childhood, he was trained to manage pressure, speak carefully, and present himself flawlessly, especially as someone breaking barriers in a sport where scrutiny was relentless. That upbringing created a champion, but also built emotional walls, and when those walls cracked, the unraveling was swift and public. Even after disappearing from view, The noise only grew louder, forcing Tiger to confront his choices, reassess his priorities, and face the consequences in silence. Weeks later, reports confirmed he had entered a behavioral health facility, signaling an effort to regain control of his life. When he finally spoke again, his carefully prepared apology carried genuine regret, leaving the world to wonder whether the most dominant golfer of his era could ever rebuild what had been lost. Tiger Woods publicly apologized for his reckless and selfish actions and later announced an indefinite break from professional golf, marking the beginning of one of the most intense public downfalls in sports history. On Thanksgiving Day in 2009, while families across the United States gathered for a brief escape from economic stress, news broke that would shatter Tiger's carefully built image when reports surfaced of personal relationships outside his marriage. What followed was a rapid collapse of control, including a late-night incident outside his Florida home that quickly spread across global media, turning rumors into non-stop headlines. As sponsors pulled away and more allegations surfaced, Tiger went from being the most disciplined and respected athlete in golf to the center of a worldwide scandal. His polished public apology showed real regret, but its controlled delivery left many questioning its sincerity, and public opinion remained divided. The media frenzy intensified, feeding on every detail, while Tiger stepped away to reassess his life and eventually sought professional help, signaling an attempt to regain stability. Once known for perfection on and off the course, Tiger became a symbol of how relentless pressure, image control, and personal isolation can eventually crack, transforming him from a dominant sports icon into a deeply human figure whose fall was analyzed as much as his greatness once was. Tiger Woods publicly apologized for his irresponsible behavior and later announced he would step away from professional golf indefinitely, a shocking moment that unfolded during Thanksgiving 2009 when most families were gathered together while his world collapsed behind the scenes. A tabloid report claimed he had been involved in a secret relationship, setting off a chain reaction that quickly spiraled out of control. Within days, pressure built at home, frantic attempts were made to contain the situation, and soon after, images surfaced of a late-night car accident outside his Florida home that stunned the sports world. Police arrived to find Tiger injured and disoriented, and although details were debated, the damage was already done. Media coverage exploded, turning rumors into non-stop headlines and pushing golf, a sport known for calm and restraint, into a global frenzy. Sponsors began pulling away. More accusations surfaced, and Tiger released statements admitting mistakes while denying some claims, but nothing slowed the storm. By December, he announced an indefinite break from golf, disappeared from public view, and later sought professional help to regain control of his life. For years, Tiger had been seen as the ultimate symbol of discipline and perfection, trained from childhood to handle pressure, control emotion, and present an unshakable image in a sport where he already stood out. That same control, however, became a weakness when the carefully built walls around him finally cracked. The scandal reshaped how the public viewed him, especially younger fans who came to associate his name more with controversy than championships. Media outlets fed on every detail, often favoring sensational headlines over context, until even unrelated stories were pulled into the chaos simply because his name guaranteed attention. Lost in the noise was the reality that just months earlier, Tiger had been dominating golf again, winning major events, climbing leaderboards, and proving he was still at the top despite past injuries. On the surface, his life looked perfect: success, fame, and total control. But underneath, years of relentless pressure, isolation, and an upbringing built entirely around winning left little room for balance. Raised to be great at all costs, Tiger learned to retreat into discipline whenever something threatened that structure. Early glimpses of freedom in his youth were quickly shut down, reinforcing a cycle of control that followed him into adulthood. When that system finally failed, the fall was public, painful, and impossible to escape. His story became less about golf and more about how even the most disciplined lives can unravel, reminding the world that behind the image of perfection was a human being struggling under the weight of expectations he had carried since childhood. Tiger Woods publicly admitted to acting selfishly and crossing boundaries, a confession that marked the start of one of the most shocking chapters in sports history. On Thanksgiving Day in 2009, while families across America gathered to relax and celebrate, news broke that would change Tiger's life forever, as reports surfaced about his private relationships and quickly spread nationwide. What followed was a rapid collapse of the carefully controlled image he had built over decades. Tension inside his home escalated, leading to a late-night car accident outside his Florida residence that became global news within hours, with images of a damaged vehicle, police lights, and a visibly shaken Tiger dominating headlines. As more claims and names emerged, sponsors pulled away, the media frenzy intensified, and Tiger found himself at the center of non-stop coverage that blurred facts, rumors, and speculation. He released public statements admitting fault and apologizing, but the storm only grew louder, eventually leading him to step away from professional golf indefinitely and seek treatment to regain control of his life. For years, Tiger had been the symbol of discipline, perfection, and focus, shaped from childhood to perform under pressure and present a flawless public image, but that same upbringing left little room for emotional balance or personal freedom. When the structure holding everything together finally cracked, the fallout was severe, not only for him but for his family and everyone involved. The media magnified every detail, turning a personal failure into a global spectacle and reshaping how an entire generation viewed him, shifting his identity from champion to controversy. Yet looking back, the story is not just about mistakes or headlines, but about the cost of perfection, the pressure of lifelong expectations, and how quickly admiration can turn into judgment. It remains one of the most unforgettable moments in golf history, blending success, failure, accountability, and the long road toward redemption, a reminder that even the most controlled lives can unravel when balance is lost.